Hello and welcome to this class. My name is Rafik Duana. I'm a student at Cal State. In this tutorial, I'm going to demonstrate to you how we fetch data from our database and put them into our PLSQL blocks for processing. Now, many programming languages, including PLSQL, will manipulate data, and in doing that, they define variables that like containers that receive the data that the user wants to manipulate, and then they process them. In PLSQL environment, we have two types of variables that you can define. Basically, we have a scalar data type that can hold one thing at a time, and we have a composite data type, which is basically like a structure that can hold multiple items and make it presented as if it's a single data type. Now, each of these two can actually hold a single record. That is, when you select from your database, you select just one single record and you place that record into the scalar data type, or you select multiple records from your database and then you place them into a collection data type. So the scalar can actually be defined to be of a collection type or of a single record type. The same is with the composite data type. It can also be declared to be of single record type, to be able to hold only one record at a time, or it can also be defined to hold multiple records or as a collection data type. Now, without variables, you really cannot do much within your PLSQL block or programming environment. So you have to know the various data types that exist and how you manipulate them. Probably in a later tutorials, I'm going to go deeper into the various data types that exist within PLSQL and how you manipulate them. But for now, we're going to deal with single record data, fetching them into a scalar data type, and then also into a composite data type if we have enough time. Now, before we proceed, I must set our server output on so that we can see the results of our demonstration. So I'm going to say set server output on. I'm going to set the size to about 20,000 or something. Okay, so I'm going to execute that. Okay, so that is executed. This means that we can see the results of our demonstration below here. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to investigate a table that we will use for this demonstration. I've created a table called member, so let me just select all the records that we have from member, select all. From member, and let's see what we have in there. Okay, so this is a record that exists within the member table. Now we're going to select the member ID and then the account number of the first member ID, and then we process it within the PLSQL block. So we're going to start, the PLSQL block structure is the declaration session, the execution session that begins and ends like this. We may optionally have the exception block, but we don't want to add that. But okay, well, no problem, we can add that. So since we're gonna be manipulating the member ID and the account number, we need to define two scalar variables that will hold the result that we get from our select statement. So I'm going to begin by declaring two variables. I just call them vmem id, and it must match in data type as dex1. So before we even proceed, let's try to see the structure of member and see the data type that we have in there so that we don't mismatch. Okay, so the member ID is actually holding a number data type, so I'm going to say number like this, and then we declare the second variable to hold the account number. I'm going to say account num, and and the account number is of varchar2 data type, and it's holding a size of 10. So let's just put it here as this. Okay, so we have two data types, the variables that we have declared that we can actually use to receive this result of a select statement. We're using them as containers. So let's go into the database. We're going to select the member ID. We select the account number. Now we place them into the two variables that we have defined or declared. We have member ID v underscore account number, right? Yeah, so from member we have to be very careful here. We have to make sure that because this has color data type of single records type, we have to make sure that our select statement returns only one record. So we have to use a where clause to restrict it to bring in only one record. If we get more than one record, we'll have an exception thrown at us, and we're not ready to accept it now. So I'm going to say where member ID is equals to 1002, like this. Okay, cool. Now we have our select statement which has returned a record from our database, so and plugs it into the variables that we have declared to hold them. The next thing we need to do is to process them. You can think about any way of processing. Once you have them in your variables, you can manipulate them whatever way you want. I'm just going to process them by using the DBMS package to display them to the screen. Puts underscore line, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to concatenate those two variables, the member ID together with the member account, and that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to say this, concatenate this with space and with the account number, like this. So this should satisfy us. If we execute this and everything is alright, we should be able to get our record displayed below. So let's see. Just trying to make sure everything is alright so we don't get an error thrown at us. Okay, so we got it right. We got an account number and the member ID. That's cool. Now instead of doing it this way, we could actually define a structure type, a composite data type, and then we go through the same procedure. Here we define a scalar data type that could hold only one thing at a time, one record, one item within one record. The same thing with this one, but here we're going to define a composite data type. So to do that, you say type, let's call it I would normally like to say type mem-info. Okay, like this. You say it's record that contains, I'm just gonna copy these two, making sure I have the same thing here, and I'll paste them here. Yeah, but I gotta be careful with something. You need to make sure that you clear off these semicolons. Okay, so you close your record type. So I have defined a record, a composite data type, and it is called type mem-info. So I'm not going to define a variable that is of this particular composite data type. So let me say my variable is mem, and it should be of type, the data type of it is type mem-info, like this. Okay, so we begin our execution by selecting the same kind of things as we had here. Okay, let me just go ahead and do it. Select member ID, account number, right, into vmem, right, from member. Once again, we gotta be sure that make sure that we got only one record and not more than that, otherwise we get an exception thrown at us. So we say where member ID equals 1002. Okay, so we have it, we can process it. So let's do the processing. dbms underscore output dot put underscore line. Here's the case, because vmem is actually a composite data type. In order to access the individual items within it, you have to first mention its name and use the dot operator to access the individual members within it. So this is what you do: mem dot the types that you define within it, which is vmem id. So you say vmem id. I'm going to concatenate it again with a space, and then with you have this, concatenate with that. Okay, then with vmem dot v account num, like this. Okay, this is it. So we can okay, let's just add on exceptions section, just to make sure. Exception, we just say when others, then dbms output dot put underscore line. There was an error. Okay, let's just do it this way. Okay, now we can end our statement and execute. Is everything alright? From member, where that, we have that, okay. So let's execute and see what happened. Okay, we got the same record returned. So here's what we did. We, instead of defining a scalar data type as we did in the previous example, in this one we're just defining a composite data type, and that is having two things within it: the member ID and the account number, just as we had before, but this time they've been put together into a single record type called type mem_info. And then we declare a variable called vmem, which is of this particular composite type. What it means is that this is a single variable, but within it we have two sub items within it, which is vmem ID and vaccount num. So because it's pregnant with two items, we can actually select two items from our database and put them into it. So this will get matched to this, and this will match up to this. So this is what we did here. So this one will not contain these two things, which is the member ID and then the account number within it of the member whose ID is 1002. Then we do the processing by just displaying that particular member ID and then the account number. But here's the catch: this is what we do. You have to make sure that you mention the variable name, use a dot operator to access the individual members within it, and then you concatenate them. And then we added an exception block where if we had any error, we will be able to catch it here. So this concludes this presentation. Hope you enjoy it. Watch out for more videos from me, and leave your comment